And welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of Nothing Like a Good Book. We're getting up there. Thank you for the letters and the emails. I appreciate that. And if there's anybody that you strongly recommend needs a break, by all means, let us know. And we'll see if we can feature them, okay? But in the interim, I'm pleased to bring back somebody I interviewed last year who had a couple of books that he got out there and very successful. And his latest one is out, and we're going to be talking to him in a moment. But I'm going to ask you, what does it truly mean to be human in a world of ever-evolving technology? God, it's everywhere, isn't it? What does it mean to love? With the final installment in his series, Juno's Song, author Michael Kelley explores spirituality, romance, self-realization, and the artificial nature of the world with his thought-provoking story. Now, Grady Harp of Amazon Top 100 Reviewer, I'm going to lead with this. Kelley's ability to blend the current obsession with AI, and it is at the moment. I mean, it's on everybody's lips, everybody's talking about it, all sorts of things. Computer technology, robotics, with well-sculptured mystery, spirituality, and all phases of love, family, passion for literature, and sensual desire. How do you put all this stuff together and mix it around and make this conclusion of his epic intoxicating, mesmerizing, edifying, and entertaining? All right? Love, humanity, and spirituality in the wake of AI technology. Welcome, Michael Kelley.
Well, thank you, Mark. It's quite an introduction.
After the events of the previous two books, because, this is the final installment in the series, protagonist Sean Byron McQueen, he finds himself living off the grid, awaiting the imminent arrival of alien beings. He's not the only one. His wife, M, has been missing for 9 years, presumed dead, and he's haunted by the curse that her captors put on him, a promise of torturous death. When he discovers that she still may be alive, he sets out to find the truth, facing old friends and foes along the way, and meanwhile he grapples with feelings towards his fellow author and best friend Molly Quinn, as well as seeking the truth of what it means to be human alongside his spiritual master, Juno. A war between humans and aliens looms before him, and everything collides in the phenomenal conclusion to this trilogy. Oh, it's exciting!
Well, when you read it, it does sound exciting, Mark.
How long did this one take you, buddy?
The entire trilogy took over 10 years, and they were kind of written or outlined all at once. So I knew where I was heading roughly for each of the three books. I got a little faster as I went. The first book probably took 5 years. The second book probably took 3, and the last book probably took 2. But, the last book had the benefit of character development, research that went into the AI and the spirituality and the alien encounter that had occurred for the first few books. So they benefited from the first few books. But I would say this one, from start to finish, took at least 2 years and then another year to be published.
Right. And just to refresh you folks, for those of you that can't recall, Michael wrote The Lost Theory and The Devil's Calling. And they were the first two. Now, how they've gone pretty well, it would be fair to say. I mean, they've done better than nothing.
Yes, they made the bestseller lists on Amazon, which is kind of algorithm run. And yeah, they're doing well enough, and I'm happy with their sales. The reviews seem to be getting better and better, so I'm happy with the trajectory.
Yeah, sometimes it does take time. Let me ask you this, Michael. How did writing a sequel differ from writing a standalone book?
Well, I mentioned already that, you have the characters that carry through book to book, and of course, some of them have to die and you lose them book over book. Then you have to introduce new characters. And each book needs to make sure that the standing characters are reintroduced in a way that you don't have to have read the first two books to be able to access the new book. But you do have the characters, and you do have the voice. It's written in the first person by Sean Byron McQueen. And so you have his voice. You also, which I found to be fascinating because I thought I would enjoy, and I did enjoy, the imaginative storytelling aspect of writing. But the research I found also very fascinating because I was researching things, as you mentioned, like AI, like brain-computer interfacing, alien contact, and spirituality that I just found fascinating. And the noetic sciences of telepathy and telekinesis and remote viewing. So the research was so much fun, and the research was able to carry through the entire trilogy.
Right. Yeah, a lot of fascinating topics there. I watch YouTube a lot with a lot of alien stuff and UFO gear and all sorts of stuff. And I just wish I could get the first interview with one, I tell you. I'd love that. Now, you touched on before they're talking about remote viewing, and the FBI, of course, had a whole division working on that some time ago. Laura Manning Johnson, she's a former CIA analyst and DHS All Threats Planner. Sounds like a heavy job. This is what she had to say about Juno's song, ripped from future headlines. Juno's song is a spellbinding thriller that presents the metaphysical and ethical dilemmas that we will face as artificial intelligence continues integrating itself into our lives and into our minds. That's scary, isn't it? Tell you what. How did you decide on Juno's song as a title anyway? I mean, it almost sounds like romance.
Well, there is a strange love triangle. And, we don't want to describe how it's strange and how it's resolved, but it's more I would say, a thriller and an adventure story. Juno is the one name, like Bono, ex-Chinese spy who, in the first book, has already opened an ashram in Kathmandu. And she becomes the spiritual heart of the book. And she's largely absent physically from the second book, though her presence is felt, and she returns. I don't want to tell you how she returns, because in this end of the second book. But by the third book, her spiritual overlay and Sean Byron McQueen's love triangle, and whether he will self-realize and maybe accept Juno as a guru of sorts, is part of the theme that's wove throughout. So it's as much her swan song as Sean's, and hence the title.
Well, Jess Todfield, he's an author, Chat GPT and AI ethics, and making ethical decisions in the age of intelligent machines. He says Juno's song transports the reader to a future where artificial intelligence is part of the fabric of humanity. It serves as both a crystal ball and a warning about the future of mankind and our ability to adapt. So, by gee, you must have done some research, all right, and I tell you what, rather clever, because that stuff can get tricky. Advanced technology, it's a major part of this book. I mean, did you take any inspiration from, I know you did research on all this sort of stuff, but other current technological trends? I mean, how did you know which way to go with all this stuff?
Sometimes it feels like these things fall in your lap, and they come to you from just at the right time and fall into the plot as needed. There was one overarching theme. This last book takes place in 2036, and that is that we are currently in the most dangerous phase, and this is not Michael Kelley. This is experts saying that we're kind of in the adolescent phase of AI as it takes off and grows up into superintelligence, and is not yet super intelligent or restrained. It's probably in its most dangerous phase for humanity. By 2036, this book envisions not that it's so benign, but it has created a dystopian type future for half the population that is wired in and is really almost a hybrid species between computers and humanity. But from their perspective, it's a utopia. They have everything they need. They can go to any situation and simulate that situation just with their mind and participate into it. So it raises the, AI, it's the Shakespeare bastardized quote of Shakespeare, is neither good nor bad. It's what man makes it.
Mm.
And I found one of the most interesting and fun things for the last book was writing Alfred as a character. Alfred is a humanoid robot. As you mentioned, Sean has been forced into isolation through the 9 years between the two books. And his sole companion during that period has been Alfred, who's a combination of ChatGPT, large language models, and robotics that's created, and I think it's very realistic, truly humanoid character who self-learns his own personality through his interaction with Sean. And so their relationship I found fascinating, and I found it fascinating writing a character that is a robot, but very humanoid as well.
Well, I think the timing of this is good. I mean, it's ironic, but in the last month or so, Elon Musk, I've seen interviewed saying what he thinks about AI, and there's other thought leaders with their opinions and scaring the devil out of people, losing jobs, this and that, but it can be great. But I visualize a nice, healthy robot walking around my home, getting me things, doing things. This is the future, whether we like. You know what I've often thought, Michael? I mean, you're an author. You've got an imagination. Think about it when we go way back at the beginning of Star Trek. I mean, did Gene Roddenberry have an alien come to him and help him write that stuff? I mean, talk about on the button. See, in your book, unlike the prior two books you wrote, that pitted those hell-bent on advancing AI against the spiritual and psychic powers of the family, this book accepts the future of AI in, as you said, 2036, and it pits those in power seeking revenge against the protagonist and the aliens about to make first contact. My question is, why is AI now much a friend as a foe in this final installment of the trilogy?
Well, I think that's the right way to phrase it. It is as much a foe. I mean, there's a surveillance state that is, perhaps not to everyone's liking. And there's this, as I said, half the population is wired in and living kind of in a virtual world without much human interaction, which is taking the birth count down significantly. But at the same time, as you mentioned, having robots perform a lot of the labor, taking care of the elderly, and doing all these things has very positive features. And the fact that the population's down is not necessarily a bad thing for the environment. It's actually a good thing for the environment. So there's good and bad things that envision coming in the future with AI. And so, I think an interesting thing is, either spirituality, I think there's three things that might save humanity. It would be spirituality, it might be AI, or it might be aliens. So I think our great hope is one of those three things saves us from ourselves. And I think that kind of plays out in the books as well.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, it's a contentious issue. I mean, if there are aliens, the other planets, people before us, and we were put on Earth, and there's still a God, there's still a one force, the force sort of thing. But for people who deep into religion, and as we say, man-made religion, but deep into that, it would shock the world that way. Yeah, it makes you think. But in Juno's song, the show you're listening to is Nothing Like a Good Book, and this one is, Michael Kelley is the author. It cuts a new path in creating a futuristic world. Not too far off, it depicts the spectacular technology melding with man's weaknesses in a world both exciting and frightening. And fans, if anybody listening who sort of got into the first two books in this trilogy, you'll want to buckle up for a mesmerizing and magnificent final piece of the puzzle, because that's what's missing. And now you're going to get it with Juno's song. The main character, right, is also an author. Did you draw from your own experience writing books when writing his character?
Yeah, the protagonist, it is quite self-referential from that standpoint, but it also, through the books, serves as a plot point as well. His writing, it allows him to explore his thoughts, fears, and weaknesses, but but he also comes to understand that because of the surveillance state and because nothing is necessarily private any longer, that his antagonist is probably reading his drafts. So then he starts sending mixed messages through the drafts. So it also served as an interesting way to have an interesting plot twist. And he doesn't know whether the antagonist is believing what he's saying or not believing what he's saying. And it does have run throughout the books. I found it one of the most frustrating things of writing in the first person in this self-referential way is that friends and readers come and think, oh, Sean's you, or Sean's an avatar for you.
Right.
And Sean has a lot of flaws and doesn't always make the right decisions necessarily. So Sean, has aspects of me, of course, and is interested in things that I'm interested in as well. But I really think he's not me, but the idea of identifying him with me has been an interesting thing as a writer.
You did see the movie, didn't you, I, Robot?
Yes, I did.
What did you think of that?
It's been a long time.
I know, but at its time, it woke me up. I mean, that's what everybody's worried about, not only taking jobs, but, they grow, they learn, they can take over humans, and next minute they're our bosses.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
No, that is a concern. They certainly will outstrip if they haven't already, outstrip our intelligence. I do think when we get to the question of what is human, even with as much as I love Alfred, the robot character, I don't believe they ever will have consciousness. I think they will always still be machines and therefore not necessarily have a spirit or a soul, or even from a more not mundane, but standpoint, consciousness itself.
Yeah, that's the point, isn't it? That's where the buck stops, at the brick wall, spirit or soul, or just machine. Speaking of poor old Alfred, one of the most memorable characters is the robot, Alfred. How does writing a robot character differ from writing one that is human?
Well, if you fast forward to 2036, I think humanoid robots, and as I already mentioned, humans are becoming more robotic, and by plugging in, to virtual reality and to brain-computer interfacing. So in one respect, some parts of humanity may be heading in a robotic fashion. At the same time, robots will be becoming more human. We just discussed, and I think I'm in the minority of people that study AI, particularly the real experts in AI. I think some have already claimed that they are conscious already. So it was a great joy to write Alfred almost as a human and having those type of characteristics. He has self-learned through Sean to be a good companion and to express and simulate or express emotions as well. One of the funnest things I hope for the book is that readers will understand that he's just one hack away, though, from turning on Sean. And if so, he also, not quite sure where he's going to end up at the end of the day, because that's always in the back of the story, or in the back of hopefully the reader's mind.
Yeah, I'm glad you called him Alfred and not Al. I love.
You can
movies.
call him Al.
No, not this Al. That takes you back to another movie. But Publishers Weekly Book Life, highly respected, says richly thoughtful novel of first contact and transcendence in 2036. Kelley's interest remains in the transcendent, the poetic, the connections between people and something beyond us. And even more than before, the very act of breathing. Interesting. That was the Publishers Week. I like to read, accolades, because these people are experts and, they're critics, and they're honest, usually, 99.9%. And forward clarion reviews. There's another one. Wild, imaginative, because you can't give away the plot here in the book. So we've got to be able to get around it and say, look, you just read the darn thing, because you're going to find out it's going to be wild, imaginative, and fantastical. The novel, that's called Juno's Song, intertwines a first contact storyline with the most basic human feeling, Guess what that is, folks? The most basic human feeling, the fear of death. You know that? Forward Clarion Reviews. Interesting. The book is very available. We'll cover that in a moment. It's called Juno Song. The author is Michael Kelley, and it's the third in the trilogy. Humanity is a key idea of this book, Michael. How would you describe what it means to be human?
It is a key theme, and as you know, we were talking about Alfred moving one direction and humanity perhaps moving in another direction as almost a new species. But I think underlying all that is the perennial spiritual question of who am I, which is posed by the books constantly, I think, or as a subcontext. But I just read recently, and I think it's interesting, a philosopher, I'm losing his name, Charles Taylor. He said the more fundamental question is, where am I going? And I think the books explore both questions, who am I and where are we going, in a way that I hope readers find fascinating to be explored. I think, the way I think of humanity is we are humans and we are beings. And to kind of highlight what I think the distinction may be, might turn to Stephen Hawkins, who late in life, he believed in the Big Bang and a horizontal time that had a start and had a finish and was not necessarily infinite and eternal. But late in life, he came to believe in a vertical time, which is kind of the constant instant or now, which is infinite and eternal. And I think that's the aspect of being. So humanity kind of lives within time, with ego and good and bad things happening within this world. But I also think we're beings as well, which live kind of in that infinite and eternal spiritual realm that Stephen Hawking pointed to.
It's all in the Akashic Records, my friend. It's all there.
I'm going to have to do more studying about them. Yes, I have.
So, what does it truly mean to be human in a world of ever-evolving technology? What does it mean to love? With the final installment in the series, you see, folks, Juno Song. This is what Michael has aimed to do. He's explored spirituality, romance, self-realization, the artificial nature of the world. It's a thought-provoking. Really, it would be fair to say that it's a sci-fi. Good sci-fi story with an important emphasis on human authenticity. Because at the end of the day, being human can have so many different feelings, emotions, hurts, letdowns, highs, lows, on it goes. A robot doesn't have any of that, or does it? How close is Alfred to a human?
Well, I think that's, I don't want to disclose too much about his character, but I think I've already mentioned that my personal view is Alfred is presented, I think, almost like a Mona Lisa, like a work of art. He is a thing of beauty and complexity and super intelligence and super capabilities. And he's kind and a great companion for Sean. But at the end of the day, whether he truly is conscious and truly loves, I think, readers will judge for themselves. I don't want to disclose where I come out on that.
Okay. Michael Kelley, what do you want readers to take away from this third book, Juno Song?
Well, I've been recently giving that a lot of thought, and I think what's has to be most important as a writer is that the readers enjoy the journey and enjoy reading it. And secondarily, or tied up with that, I hope the readers find the themes that I find so interesting and fascinating that are woven throughout this. Of the themes you've been discussing are interesting and then viewed in a different fashion, not just by me, but by how the characters look at and view the potential of alien contact, how the characters think of the advances of AI and whether it's good or bad, all in the context of what should be an enjoyable adventure sci-fi thriller. So, yeah, I think they're the two things I hope readers come away with. One is, a fun time and interest and determination, perhaps, to continue to think about these things in more depth and from different perspectives.
Do you plan on writing more in the future?
Yes, the next book's, by the time a book's published, and Juno Song was just published, it takes a year or two after it's put into the publishing mill. I already first draft, a totally different book.
I was going to say, would you explore this world and characters more or start something brand new?
I think, I might come back in some way, but, I think Sean Byron McQueen's trilogy is over and done with Juno Song. But this is it's not a sci-fi. It's a historical thriller or mystery that I'm currently. And again,
you might be able to do number 4. It depends. I had Kevin Shuey as a guest twice now on the show, and Kevin's a heart surgeon by trade, but he loves writing, and so much so he wrote a series called Bad Love Tigers. And it's fantastic. It reminds me a little bit of your stuff, but Hollywood picked it up, and they're going to do TV, series, God knows what with the thing. So, I love your books. You never know. You've done the trilogy, and it's very much today. They may call for a number 4, so you better get ready for it.
Well, that would not be a burden. That'd be great.
Yeah, it would be great. And before we go, and I want to talk about where you can buy Michael's book and find it and all the rest of it, I just want to read from Grady Harp, who's a highly respected Amazon Top 100 reviewer. He says, what does it truly mean, and think about this for a minute, folks, what does it truly mean to be human in a world of ever-evolving technology? Are we useless? Who are we? What does it mean to love, then? So with the final installment in this series, in his series Juno Song, Michael explores this spirituality, this romance, self-realization, but the artificial nature of the world with his thought-provoking story. But apparently he likes to think that Kelley's ability to blend the current obsession with AI, computer technology, and robotics with well-sculptured mystery, spirituality, and all phases of love. You got to mix this stuff up. Family, passion for literature, sensual desire, truth. It makes this conclusion of his epic, intoxicating, mesmerizing, edifying, and entertaining book. I'm going to go buy the thing myself. I can't wait. What do we got here? Where can I get it? Oh, of course, it's on Amazon, isn't it?
Yeah, Amazon is responsible for 80% of all sales of books.
All right. HTTPS, it's all there. Now, you've got a site, haven't you?
I do. It's Michael Kelley author.com.
You sure it's not Michael Kelley alien? You are real.
No. Now, I think Elon Musk is an alien, but not me.
There's 472 pages in this thing, right? A simple couple of nights for some of you. It'd take me a week, focused. And here's the deal. Can I buy the book on your site?
Yeah, it basically directs you to Amazon. You punch on it and it takes you to Amazon.
Okay, well, that's simple enough, isn't it? And, okay, so it's released by the Greenleaf Book Group Press. And Juno Song is the name of it, right? Just in case, JUNO''S, Juno's Song. All right, that's the third. That's the trilogy of the books from Michael Kelley, who was our very, very special guest on this episode of Nothing Like a Good Book. And it's been an absolute pleasure, Michael, to speak with you again. I wish you all the very best with this one.
Mark, thank you so much for your time and kind words.
You're most welcome. Good luck.